Welcome to Mallet and Michelle on Dripping Springs, hosted by me, Michelle Lewis, and Steve Mallet.
Michelle Lewis, how are you doing?
Steve Mallet, I am going good.
How was Thanksgiving?
I'm never eating again.
I know. I'm still recovering from that, the food comas and everything that comes along with it. But it was a great 4-day weekend. Really enjoyed it.
It was really nice. I was in Dallas with my daughter, which I've learned that if I go to my daughter's, where she's the hostess, I become the hostess by default.
Mom's always mom. Mom's always going to be asked to come into the kitchen and help every time.
I didn't help. Mom's going
to always be called to come in the kitchen and take over.
I did.
Take charge.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you probably would have done it anyway, even if she hadn't.
That is probably true. So today our guest is Ben Giesleman, and he is running for Constable of Precinct 4, which is our precinct here. And
soon to be vacated
by Ron Hood. Yeah, and his term expires in 2024. Ron is retiring. Mm-hmm. And I just thought before he got on here, we could kind of just there's probably people that don't know what a constable does, and it's kind of.
I'm not sure. I 100% do.
This is a quiz. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So Texas constables and their deputies are fully empowered peace officers and county-wide jurisdiction who may legally exercise their authority in any precinct within their county. I did not know that. So they're not only within Precinct 4. They also may issue citations, make arrests, conduct investigations, file criminal charges, assist other agencies involving crimes in progress, respond to missing person calls, and conduct traffic enforcements. They are available to serve their community whenever and wherever is needed. And they are also designated as officers of the courts, whose responsibilities are to execute court orders, civil citations, criminal arrest warrants, protective orders, property seizures, evictions, blah, 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 blah. So
they do a lot.
It's a big job. And I think we have something like, like 6 or 7 deputies.
I got to know Ron because him and I think 4 of his deputies have come out and helped us at the Run by the Creek every year for road closures and things like that. And they always come out. They're always in a great mood. They clap for people and they have a good time. And it's fun to see how they get involved in the community.
Well, I see Deputy Hamilton everywhere. He if you see him, he always has a big smile on his face, probably unless he's arresting somebody. And then Deputy Jimmy, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he's like really tall and he's bald. And I see him almost every day going home because he directs the traffic on Sawyer Ranch. Yeah. Super nice guy. But all of them are really, really nice. Yeah. We don't have a female deputy here in our precinct, which is interesting.
Ooh, you maybe need to ask Ben about that.
Yeah, let's ask him about that.
Yeah, so the show today brought to you by Capital Farm Credit, Mark Rutledge, and M. Elliott Studio.
That's right.
Montana Elliott. They're doing great things over there with design, and if you're remodeling any part of your house, you need to give her a call.
Yes, follow her on Instagram also. She has really good Instagram
She
presence.
does, yes,
yep.
She does. Greg Abbott, our esteemed governor, went skydiving yesterday.
I think that is hilarious and amazing. And he went skydiving with a 106-year-old World War II
vet. Yeah, probably
vet.
ruined this guy's name, and I'm sorry in advance. But Al Blasche, Blasche, who is a World War II veteran at 106 years old, they didn't jump together. They did a tandem jump with 2 expert parachutists.
Parachutists?
I think that's a word. But they were strapped to the guy with the parachute on, which is actually kind of
parachutey or parachuter.
You got to be pretty trusting to strap yourself to another person, and the other person has the parachute.
Your daughter just did this.
I was just going to say, Gracie did this about a month ago, and she's still talking.
Would you do it?
I would not do it.
No, but you know what Governor Abbott said when he landed, which I thought was so funny. He said that his biggest fear was realized, or his biggest fear.
Start over.
Oh,
Michelle.
my goodness! My biggest fear was realized that I would land and I would not be able to walk away.
Oh.
Okay. Well, the joke in there is that he's paralyzed from the waist down since he was 26. But I thought it was funny. He made light of it.
Yeah.
So
he's got I think he has a good sense of humor. Well, this guy Al has been a couple of times been the oldest man to do a tandem parachute jump. So it seems like he's done, I think he did it when he was 97, and then somebody broke his record, and then he did it a couple years ago when somebody broke his record. So now he's officially the oldest guy to do a tandem parachute jump.
He says, when you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. Isn't that
This
sweet?
is what Al said?
Yes.
He actually, I saw a picture of him with Governor Abbot, and he looks pretty spry
I
for
know.
106.
It is. It looks pretty good. He had like a little...
56 years older than, 46 years older than
That
me.
sounds like
God, I'm
math
old.
to me. He had a little American flag hat on. He's so cute.
Yeah.
He's so cute. So, Steve, can you, if you had to make a guess, what Webster's word of the year is 2023?
Artificial intelligence.
Okay, so last year the word was gaslighting.
Oh, we did a bit on that, didn't we?
And how they come up with this, it's like the most searched word on their platform. Coming in second place, what was the word? Oh, well, one of them that you said that earlier, Riz. That was third place, which I thought was funny. Deep fake, that was one of the second ones. But the most searched word is authentic. And the reason, authentic. And the reason why is they're thinking is because of AI, celebrities are using it, social media platforms are using it, and everything that's kind of going in the world right now. I mean, my opinion, like with woman face and stuff like that. I think that I think it's interesting that people are wanting to get back to being authentic.
Well, I agree, and it's so hard to tell what is authentic now. I just texted you a link to an article that I found. This is and I wanted you to pull it up on the TV. This is an AI model.
I saw that.
Her name is Aitana, which is AITNA, which is a play on artificial intelligence.
She's making a killing.
She's making $10,000 a month. And she's fake.
Yeah.
She's completely fake. And if you go scroll down, there's some pictures of her. I would not be able to tell that this is not her. I mean, she looks sort of like maybe with a filter.
That's because most people aren't looking at her face. That's why.
Yeah. So this company in Spain basically created her as a character. She's 25 years old, has pink hair, lives in Barcelona, has a huge social media presence, has 121,000 followers on Instagram. They get $1,000 per advert.
Who runs her?
It's some tech company. It might mention in there what the name of the company is, but they get together once a week and lay out her life for the week, and they plan posts, and they pose her doing certain things, and she'll promote products. And so some of the people that are social media influencers now are a little concerned because for a lot less money and a lot less headache, you can just make a computer do what you've got to work with this narcissistic
that is the
social media
stupidest
influencer.
Thing I've ever heard. That is so stupid.
Yeah, there's some people that are angry about this and don't want this company to do it. And the critics are saying that she's too perfect and could lead youth to be obsessed with perfection. They already
are. The Kardashians have done that.
Yeah. And she's much cheaper than Kim Kardashian for an ad. That is literally true.
I don't know who listens to Kim Who listens to anything a Kardashian has to say.
We were just talking about. We don't even care about her, and we've talked about her 2 times in 2 different podcasts.
But she doesn't influence me. Although we did talk about her a couple of weeks ago with Skims and her new. Yes. We're not going to mention that again.
I can't say that word again.
That was funny. That was really funny.
There's the future for you. You just talked about the most searched words. AI has changed the world in ways just the past year or two in ways that I honestly never imagined. And I think we just scratched the surface.
Yeah,
we've barely started how this is going to affect humanity.
I know it's kind of scary what's going to happen. It's kind of Terminator or I don't know what's going to happen. This is weird.
It might be Terminator.
Yeah. It might be Terminator for sure. So, hey, I wanted to talk about something that, especially since we're going to have Ben Giesleman on. Mm-hmm. Peggy Hippolito, her husband, Anthony, is running for sheriff of Hayes County. But
great guy.
But
I think he's episode like 70 something if you want to listen a little bit more about him.
oh, wonderful guy. Well, Peggy, years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, started Adopt a Cop out of, I think, out of APD. And when Anthony came over to Hayes, she moved it over there, and then she had it in Buda and Kyle. And then last year, they integrated the Hayes County Sheriff's Office. And so she has a couple of help, Kimberly Andrews and Kelly Barron. But basically what they do, it's just a group of women at the beginning. They stock the break room for the constable's office, 911 dispatch centers in Hayes. It's a massive undertaking is what she says. But right now what they are doing is you're going to be able to adopt a cop here in Hayes County. And it's a really small contribution. You just get a gift bag. It's a $25 gift card, 2 non-alcoholic drinks, some snacks, a handwritten note, no homemade food. But Peggy has all of it set up. She can assign you one if you want to participate in this. You just need to email her at adoptacop@gmail.com. Did I say that right? No, adoptacophc@gmail.com.
Okay.
Hayes County.
I was going to say, when you were talking about that, I think police officers across the country need love more than just about any other profession right now. They have just been dragged through the mud. There's been a few bad actors out there that have tarnished the few bad actors have started something that allowed a group of people to tarnish the entire profession. And there's so many great cops out there. And if you think about the job that they do, the average person cannot do what they do. You think, oh man, this guy's pulling me over on the side of the road. He's going to write me a ticket. Damn it, it's going to take me like 3 hours. I'm going to have to work through this ticket. And when he's getting out of the car, he's thinking, I got a wife and 2 kids, and I'm approaching this car, and I don't know who's in there. It could be some psychopath. He could have a gun. I might not make it home tonight. And we need to be more aware that these guys, men and women, go out every day and put their life on the line and walk around in a country right now where there's a certain part of the population that is hating on them just because of the profession that they chose. Not disliking them, not disrespecting them, actually hating them without knowing a single thing about them. That's scary. And I think there should be more Adopt a Cop type programs. This
is a choice that they make also. They're taking the safety and security away from the time they spent with their own family to put their heart and soul into a profession to protect your family and your friends. And so I 100% agree. Yeah, there are some bad actors out there, and there are people with chips on their shoulders and whatnot in every single profession, even in real estate.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. And I think Peggy is she's a great example of what a law enforcement's wonderful support system at home does. And she kind of just immerses herself into that. So
that's a perfect example. There seems to be 2 ways in this country. People can go online and gripe and moan or stand out in traffic with stupid signs, or they can actually just go do something and make things better.
You mean gluing your hand to the road doesn't do anything?
Yeah. I saw one last week. They stopped traffic in London. It was like 200 people with these signs, stop oil. And this older man, probably my age, comes up to him and goes, "You're all idiots. Everything you're wearing, everything, the transportation that you use to get here, everything runs on oil. Your shoes, your clothes, your pants, your jacket. It's all made of oil. You just stand here and just say, do away with it you don't have any response to that. There's no way we can do that. There's no solution offered. Just stop it. Basically, it's like a 6-year-old. Just stop it.
That didn't sound like a 6-year-old.
It did. Well, I'm ranting a little bit today, but I think this is a great thing that Peggy's doing.
Yeah, I do too.
I hope everybody, especially this time of year, reaches out and supports them.
Well, the deadline is December 13th. Reach out to her again. I butchered the email address before, but it's adoptacophc@gmail.com. And if you cannot remember that, just contact us and we'll get you in touch with Peggy.
Yeah, there you go. I got 2 quick ones, and then we'll get Ben in here. We talked about this I think it's been a few months ago. The Austin parks have had rash of break-ins. People park their car and they come back and a window or two is broken and stuff is removed. Well, it's actually getting a lot worse. The police are not responding to those anymore. And there's Austin Parks has identified 9 parks now that have seen a huge increase in break-ins.
What can you do unless you're the president's granddaughter to protect your car from getting broken? I don't have Secret Service following me around.
Yeah, I know. Their solution
maybe I do.
Maybe you do. Yeah, their solution is, this is Austin Parks Wildlife. Don't leave anything in your car. Take your wallet with you, take your sunglasses, take your purse, take your fanny pack, take whatever. Don't leave it in the car. And if you have to leave stuff in the car, put it out of place. Put it at where it can't be seen. Stick it in the trunk or something. They talked about this woman that was driving through Austin and wanted to stop at the Pennybacker Bridge because, that's an Austin icon. Parked her car 2:00 in the afternoon, had some suitcases in the back seat, covered them up with a blanket, came back. The suitcases were actually there, but her purse was gone. So don't leave your purse.
Why would you leave your
car.
purse in? That's
But it's 2:00 in the afternoon.
But
she called the police and they said we don't have the manpower to respond. You can go online and file a police report. So she went online and never heard of it.
I literally want to know, that's an honest question. If you caught somebody breaking into your car, what legal ramifications do you have if you were concealed carrying?
Ooh. I feel like if you, in this day and age, if you say tackled that person and held them down and called 911,
I want to see you tackle somebody and hold them down.
Yeah, maybe they're 106 pounds and I can take them down.
Let me know when you guys get Steve. Call me up.
But I feel like in this day and age, if you tackled them and held them down and had somebody call the police, when the police came, they would probably arrest me.
That's probably true. Like the guy, I think it was in California or maybe it was Nevada. I can't remember. There was some people that followed him home and he took his concealed carry because they were trying to break into his house and he shot at them and they took his concealed carry away. That's just, we live in a crazy world right now.
Well, we do. And so the parks to avoid, I say avoid. You can go there, but be cautious. Even in broad daylight, it's Barton Greenbelt, Mount Bunnell.
Barton Greenbelt I've lived in Austin for almost 30 years. Barton Greenbelt has always notoriously been.
That's the parking area underneath Mopac, kind of where 360 crosses.
Yep, that is. My husband's office used to be there. It has always been.
That
bad.
has always been a bad area, but. What hasn't been a bad area is Mount Bunnell. And every time we run up in Mount Bunnell about once a month, and every time I go now, it's just, there's glass everywhere.
That's weird. Okay.
Yeah. The Pennybacker Bridge, Mayfield Park, which I don't know where that is, St. Ed's Park, and then 9 other parks that they didn't mention are places where even in broad daylight,
you guess which park it is.
Well, and one of the reasons that I want to point this out is right now we've got the Trail of Lights going on. People are parked all over Zilker, all over downtown. If you have stuff of value in your car, there's a pretty good chance you could come back and it could be gone. So just be aware.
When I was in San Francisco visiting my son, I was going to leave a scarf in the back seat. And he said, no, we take everything out of the car. I said, why? He goes, well, because people assume that even if you have something in the scarf in there, that you're covering something else up. So they leave nothing in the car. Well,
unfortunately, this is because of what's happened in this country in the last 3 years with this defund the police. Mm-hmm. And there are no consequences for certain crimes anymore.
We need a reset. I thought COVID was going to be our reset, but it just brought out the worst in people. I think
it did reset. It didn't reset in a good way, though. It's like it reset us in a more broken way. But, I was listening to a podcast this morning. They were talking about California, and crime in California is just insane. These gangs of people, running into a store, like 6 and 8 and 10 people, and they all steal less than $750. The cops won't come out for that.
Yeah.
Even if they did come out and catch them, they write them a ticket. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
No. I'm going to do I have got a story next week about, and I'll talk about it next week, but it's about that the homeless population in this country increase directly in proportion to the decriminalization and legalization of drugs.
You know that you're not allowed to say homeless anymore. You have to say unhoused.
Oh, okay. Woke. I got one quick one. This goes
You're
along
just on a roll today.
I am on a roll.
Or is your voice, does your throat hurt? You're just talking.
Dry throat.
Okay, I'll just let me know when you're done. I'll sit over here.
No shush. This one goes along with, you and I talk about these things all the time. How do we make the choices that we make? There's a woman named Nikki Vasconez who's a former lawyer that is a pet psychic. And I see the look on your face. She charges $550 per 90 minutes to have a video session with your dog, cat, horse, pig. She's done camels and she's done bearded dragons. Camels. She has a waiting list of 7,600 people that want their animals to talk to her.
I am now a pet psychic, so please email me at mallorymichelle@gmail.com.
She doesn't have any credentials.
I will tell you what your pet wants. A snack, dog cheese.
Yeah.
They just want dog cheese.
So her whole fame came about. She had an online video that went viral, and somebody had her talk to their dog, and the dog told her that he didn't like his name because it made him feel fat and overweight. And she later found out, she didn't know this, that the dog's name was Big Al. And so this video goes viral, and all of a sudden everybody wants to talk to her and have her do a session with their animals. And she's a former attorney now that has retired from that is now full-time, probably making $550 for an hour and a half. That's more than what an attorney would charge for talking to people's animals.
I just don't even know what to say. I just don't. I saw something the other day on TikTok where she was talking to her dogs, and she goes, "It just occurred to me that I never told my dogs my own name. They know their name."
Oh my God.
Hi, Willow and Stevie and Hazel. My name is Michelle. So
there are critics that say that the people that fall for this tend towards fantasy in their life, that they want this to be true.
You mean mental illness?
Could be.
Yeah, because I'm going to say this until the day I die. We have normalized mental illness in this country.
Yeah.
Stop feeding into these crazy people.
True.
Stop giving these crazy people money. They're scammers. They just want to take your money.
People are lined up to give them money.
Stop.
Now. Lined up.
Stop. Yeah. Or just send me money and I will tell you you're a good
this
dog.
This portion of the show brought to you by Mallet and Michelle Pet Whisperers. 1-800-PET-WHISPERER.
Stupid.
I know. All right. Well, after that, we need a quick little break to get Ben Giesleman in here and talk to him about his run for, Hays County
Constable. Precinct 4. Yep.
So we'll be right back. Proudly sponsored by...
At Capital Farm Credit, they understand that owning land is more than just a transaction. It's a legacy, a future, and a place to call your own.
For generations, Capital Farm Credit has been the trusted lending partner for land loans, farmers, ranchers, and rural dreamers just like you.
Their personalized loan solutions cater to your unique needs, making the journey to land ownership smoother than ever.
Capital Farm Credit, your land, your legacy. Visit CapitalFarmCredit.com or Mark Rutledge at 512-892-4425.
Capital Farm Credit, an equal credit housing lender.
Interior design should be an investment in your life and home. Let M. Elliott Studio transform your space, where interior design meets excellence in Central Texas.
Beyond just selecting colors and furnishings, team principal and owner, Montana Elliott, is a trained and licensed interior designer.
With her knowledge of architectural principles, building codes, space planning, and design theory, her team will work with you to understand your needs and lifestyle.
From concept to completion, M. Elliott Studio is committed to enhancing your space with a timeless and classic style.
Ready to redefine your space?
melliottstudio.com, 512-781-0224.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Mallet Integrity Team of real estate professionals. They are based in Dripping Springs and bring you over 45 years of combined experience helping people reach their hill country real estate dreams. When you want the best in town, call them at 512-829-2062 or look them up at malletintegrityteam.com. And now, here's Steve and Michelle.
Welcome back in the studio. We have Vin Diesel. Just kidding.
Ben Giesleman.
Ben Giesleman.
That's
Yeah,
what I
you're right.
said,
Okay,
Ben Giesleman.
we've been pronouncing it wrong.
Yeah, sorry about that. But welcome to the show, Ben.
Thank you.
So tell us, when did you move to Dripping Springs, or how long have you been
He's
here?
been here. You're OG.
My entire life I've been here.
Born and raised?
Most parts. So I was born in San Antonio, but we moved here when I was 1. But my family's property that we lived on has been here since the 40s. So.
Oh, wow. That's great. So what brought your family here when you were 1 year old?
They loved our ranch and wanted to stay at our ranch. So, we all lived together. My grandparents live out there, my great aunt and uncle, my aunt and uncle. So,
That's great.
Generational property. That's very rare these days for people. But I'm also seeing it like kind of come back around. We're seeing a lot more people looking for homesteading type of property. But that's nice to being able to have your kids grow up around family and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I like it.
So obviously you had a stint where you left for a while, but you graduated from Dripping Springs High School.
Yeah, kindergarten through my senior year. So.
Okay, and then what happened after that?
3 days after I graduated, I went to boot camp in San Diego, the Marine Corps boot camp. So I'm a Hollywood Marine.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you for your service. How was that? Tell us about your time in the Marine Corps.
It was fun.
Did you serve overseas at all?
Yes, I did 2 tours. So little interesting part about that is I was actually on the track for the Air Force. I was in Civil Air Patrol middle school through high school. Had a chance to go Air Force Academy if I wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Decided to go work out with my buddy one day. He said, hey, come to this pulley program. And went to the Marines. I was like, hey, this is a challenge. I like this. And then decided to enlist. So enlisted actually 17. I entered the delayed entry program.
You depped. That's what my kid did too. Yep. That's a great program. Like, here, sign up. Did your mom have to sign your paperwork? I did too. Yeah.
Did you enjoy that time in the Marine Corps?
I did. All my buddies, actually, one of them still in right now I'm talking to. But I'd be, I think, 3 years from retiring if I would have stayed.
Oh, really? Wow, man. Yeah.
The service has changed so much, though, as well.
Talking to him, I mean,
Is he's still in?
he's still active right now, and just the difference between we always laugh as they were talking about the old school Marines and when we were there. Now we're talking about
the
it.
new school Marines. Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's as much respect from some in the community, but also the people that are doing it don't take it. I don't feel that they feel as honored and appreciated as they used to. I
do think that what my son has gotten most out of it is the family unit, especially coming from our family where we're so close, and then going into the Coast Guard. It's like such a brotherhood for him. The aviation is and so I can see the same thing. But then you jumped into law enforcement, which is probably the same.
Did you do law enforcement in the Marine Corps?
No, I was infantry.
Okay.
But law enforcement was kind of I'm the first one in my family to be in law enforcement, but that was one of the main factors of I've known like Roland Cunningham and Tate Purrier, knew them growing up my entire time, and I figured it was a good fit, and that's why I decided to try it. And then I realized once I get in there, hey, this is a lot like it. I mean, 4 of the guys in my academy were also Marines, and
So you went right out of the Marine Corps and started in law enforcement. Is that right?
No. So I got out and I went to Texas State.
Okay.
And originally I was looking at water studies or hydrology.
Then, you got into law enforcement.
So I was doing all my science classes and then started thinking about it. My buddies were in college with me too. I started talking to Roland.
But Texas State is like the criminal justice kind of school in the United States, right? It's like it's pretty up there.
Yeah, I think it's their second largest program. But it was pretty. I made the switch, and
what did Roland say to you to kind of
No, I talked to him a little bit about it, and seen him and grown up with him, and I was like, man, I kind of thinking about being a cop, and we kind of talked about it, and convinced me to start as a correctional officer, work my way up. So that's what I did.
Was there ever? Do you remember like a distinct conversation where you're like, I think I want to do this?
I think I was just sitting in a class one day in there about water studies, and then realizing, man, I'm gonna have to get a doctorate degree to do anything with this.
Yeah, a lot of those science degrees you have to stay in school for a long time to make any money at that. So the first job you had, was that with what organization was that with as in law enforcement?
With the Hayes County Sheriff's Office.
So Hayes County Sheriff's Office, and is there a required time in the correctional facility that you have to do to be an officer for them?
No, so I guess you can go two paths. You can go straight into the law enforcement side and go through an academy, get commissioned, and go that way. Or you can start in corrections, and then you can apply to go to an academy or take your own academy. We happen to be having one, I think it was a year after I started.
Oh.
Okay.
And I applied and got to go, so.
And then you started out. So how long were you in? So you were in a jail, is that right?
Yeah, I was in jail for about a year.
Yeah. Was it a year? Was it a year?
Yeah, about a year.
How was that?
Actually, it was I'm glad I did it because, I mean, you see a lot of these same guys on the outside when you're talking to them, and then having that experience and kind of relationship with them, seeing them every day.
That's funny to me.
I learned jail sign language.
No way.
They have their own, because now they're open bays, but they used to have them separated with glasses, and it was like 4 pods, and they would talk through the windows with sign language.
Really? How did you learn it? Just by watching it?
I just kept watching and got sitting there 12 hours and
wow. And so then those guys get out, and you're at McDonald's ordering a coffee and a McFlurry or whatever, and the guy that was in jail for jacking a car is standing next to you, and you're like, "Hey, bud, how's it going?"
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Do the majority of them? This sounds like a stupid question, but I'm really curious. Do they have respect for authority in there? The majority of them, or there's a hierarchy, right?
Yes, I would say that, and then.
Because it's county jail, right?
It's county jail.
Okay.
And that was a thing, a learning process for me, is not being like a robot towards these guys and doing it, but treating them like human beings
and showing respect
to them, and they showed respect back to me, and it's helped out on some calls. They'll be like, "Hey, I know that guy. I used to watch him."
Yeah.
And other deputies like, "I don't want to talk to you," and then they'll talk to me. So,
do you feel like you have to also have a background kind of in mental health awareness?
Yes.
Considering what's going on. I mean, I'm sure a lot of these offenders that are in there are drug offenses too. Is that correct?
Yeah, I feel most of them, a lot of them have some drug issues, but mental health has become a big deal in law enforcement right now.
Mm-hmm.
All the new training involved with it, and we have a whole mental health unit now, designated to do that. So I feel like you need to have some sort of background in there, just to give them some advice about it.
Yeah, it's
how much of what you do when you go out on some of these calls is just dialing down the conflict, like calming the situation.
I feel like a lot of most of my calls are doing that, unless it's something like a credit card abuse or something like that. But yeah, most of the time you get on somewhere and everyone's escalated.
Yeah.
You just got to try to calm them down, separate them, talk to them, get them back down to a reasonable level, and start talking to them, explain.
That's probably a really hard skill to manage, because as human beings, we're sort of wired to, if we come into a real hyped up situation, to be absorbed into it and get hyped up ourselves. So to be the calming factor, that's got to be pretty hard of a skill to learn and then engage in.
Yeah, and I would say my time in the jail helped a lot with that, because, you put a bunch of guys in a place where they can't get out, and tensions rise and arguments. You got to learn how to de-escalate that. You don't have any tools that I have now.
Well, I think everybody also wants to be a social media star too. So even like on innocent traffic violations, people are coming out there with their cell phones and recording you. And what's your badge number? What's this?
Did you get that? Have you gotten that?
I've gotten that a few times, but you just
simmer down, Karen. Simmer down.
Yeah.
Simmer down.
I see those videos online where a police officer is trying to do his job arresting somebody, and there's like 12 people around videotaping it, just waiting for the right angle to be able to say that you guys did something wrong. That's ridiculous.
I've had it happen a couple times, but mainly they were surrounding my deputies when I was still on patrol, and the phones came out as we were arresting somebody, searching a car, and I was like, "Hey, I don't mind you recording, but can you please do it over there and not interfere with my guys?"
Right. Oh, wow.
What do you think the biggest thing that has surprised you about being in law enforcement?
I think that's probably the hardest part is turning that off, like getting home. So like dealing with all this and then flipping it. I have 4 kids and dealing with them. So
that would be the hardest part for me, being in a jail, being with people that have had just terrible things happen to them in their lives and they're down and out and they've given up. And then you're around that and you're trying to keep them calm and do all the things you're doing. And then you come home and you got to be a family man. Flipping that switch has got to be really difficult.
I'd say that's probably the hardest part of it is just going from that to flipping it. And then all my kids are little. So,
well, I think also if you go on calls, when I used to do a stint with Child Protective Services, and when I would go on calls with CPS, and I would see such severe abuse with children, and then I would go to my house, and I was getting
Even
on my
worse
kids for
abuse.
there was worse abuse, but they wouldn't do the dishes or something like that, and I would be like, "What? You don't even know what you have here, considering what is going on the outside." That's got to be hard because you have. How old is your youngest?
6 months old.
I know, baby.
Wow. She's been, man. Wow. You getting any sleep?
Yeah, she's sleeping pretty good now.
Good for you.
Because she's in the other room.
Yeah.
It's your 4th one, right? You kind of figure it out at that point.
So now you're running for Hayes County Constable Precinct 4.
Yep.
So why do you want to run for that?
Well, I grew up in this town. Ron Hood obviously has some very large shoes to fill. Yeah. But I mean, he's been here the last 16 years. Yeah. I've primarily most of my law enforcement time has been in Dripping Springs, Wimberley area, the west side of the county. And I heard he was retiring. And I feel like I needed to step up. I've worked over here. I know the area. I know the people, the problems, and I wanted to jump in there and do it.
How big an area is that, the Precinct 4? So it covers Dripping Springs, Wimberley. Does it go San Marcos?
No. So Precinct 4 is all of Dripping Springs and pretty much Driftwood. So if you think about Ranch Road 12 to where it splits to 4 lanes, it kind of ends on that side.
Okay.
County line on both sides of 290 and Hamilton Pool.
Okay.
And
that's
then
a pretty big area.
Yeah, 8 all of 1826 to Travis County, and then 967 a little bit ways up that way.
Okay.
What do you think some are the biggest pressing issues that we're facing here that are kind of unique to the rest of Hayes County? I mean, growth, traffic, obviously, right?
Yeah, definitely the growth in the traffic. Yeah. But I mean, we've seen that grow on the east side as well when all of those buildings starting to come in Kyle and Buda. I'd say a lot of it are the difference between us and the east side. There's no police department per se. So we have the sheriff's office that covers pretty much everything for Wimberley and Dripping Springs area, which is a little different because on the east side, you can call for backup and somebody will be there like that. Versus over here, you have 2 to 3 guys and you're waiting for somebody from Wimberley to come this way.
So the constables then fill in that gap that the sheriff's officers don't? Like if there was, for instance, I don't know, like a robbery in progress, somewhere, one of the banks or something like that. Do the constables come over here and do they kind of man the situation until the sheriff's office gets here?
They'll back them. So or say the 2 or 3 guys are up here, someone has to go arrest somebody who goes to jail, so they'll help out and fill in where needed. I mean, because they're still peace officers, can do everything we can do. But they help us fill in, and they have a traffic unit, so they're
the sheriff's department does?
The constable's office.
The constable's office does. Okay.
The traffic office. I got stopped, a stupid stop, but I'm not gonna call anybody out. But I didn't get a ticket.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me. You could talk your way out of anything.
Well, do I?
Anything? Yes, you could. Yeah. And so you were just talking about what's kind of the problems we have just in Hayes County in general. Just from a law enforcement side, what do you see are the biggest challenges that if you took Ron's office, if you got into Ron's office as the constable, what do you think the biggest challenges are going to be going forward in terms of law enforcement?
Definitely the mental health aspect. I feel like a majority of the calls lately that I've been dealing with have some sort of mental health part to them.
Okay.
So growing that definitely in the agency. There's 7 deputy constables right now, and usually 2 to 3 deputies from the sheriff's office are up here in this area.
Okay.
So, and detective wise, I'm the only one that's up in this office right now. So,
Are there plans to grow because dripping is growing so much? Are there plans to grow or in the budget to grow the amount of deputies that the constable's office?
I think so. That'd be a commissioner's court.
Okay.
You can go to them and ask for more deputies. But the other offices, constables' offices, have been getting more deputies lately. So
The other precincts are getting more. Okay.
And I think with the growth, that's definitely needed to essentially assist with the sheriff's office.
Yeah. One of the questions that I had for you was in regards to Ron. When you decided to run, did you sit down with Ron and say, "Hey, I'm looking at running, and how did this affect your family, your personal life? I mean, what is the work-life balance?" I mean, have you had that kind of conversation with Ron, even though he hasn't come out and endorsed anyone, right? You have an opponent, Dave Graham, but tell me about that kind of conversation, if there's any part of that you want to share.
Yeah, I did sit down with him. Especially when I heard he was retiring, we had a conversation. I said, I'm thinking about doing this. He said, well,
buckle up, Buttercup. Yeah.
So, no, we sat down and talked about it and all of what his expectations and what he does. And I've seen him do this for 16 years. As far as the family side, I wanted a little bit more about that because I do have little kids. And we kind of worked that out and said, "Hey, look, you're going to be doing this. You're going to be talking to people." And I really wanted to do that, especially for up here.
Well, the time commitment away from your family as well. And I think that how do you think you're going to balance that from, Ron, we see Ron everywhere. Like he's at football games, he's at funerals, he's at, Hat Creek. I mean, he's everywhere. Yeah. Ron is everywhere. So how do you think that's going to fit into where you have such a young family, and your wife, Kathy, as well?
Alyssa.
Oh, wait, Alyssa. Yeah. Wait.
Ron's wife's Kathy.
No, you're right. You're right. How do you think you're going to marry the two?
I feel like we've done that pretty well right now. I used to work nights, and we made that work with all of our kids. Shift work versus my new schedule. I'm at the football games too every Friday that are up here, so I work with him a lot already, and I think she kind of knows with my path that I'm going on and what the expectations are. As long as I give her the expectations of what's going to happen, I think we can work that out.
Just say yes, ma'am, a lot.
Yeah, that's right. He probably knows that already.
That's right. Kathy Hood is like one of my most favorite people in the entire world. I just love her. And I think her and Ron are such godly people as well. And they've really kind of used that. He's never stood on that platform of being a godly person, being a constable. But if you know Ron, you know that his faith is really kind of guides him. And
he's an incredible character. I mean, he has an incredible character.
Amazing.
He's just a really stand-up guy. In terms of what Ron has done, what are the things that you think Ron has done very well? And are there things that you'd want to do differently if you got in his place?
I think one of the things he does very well is anybody that comes to his office, he'll talk to you.
That's true.
I think that's definitely something that needs to be carried on. Open door policy.
And he does that. He doesn't do that grudgingly. When we had an incident with a guy, and we went and knocked on his door, and he was like, "Yeah, come on in." And he sat and listened and heard everything. So yeah, I agree with you. That's a great policy.
Yeah, that definitely needs to continue. I can go in there any time of day, and there's either somebody in his office or it's like, "Hey, come talk to me." So
yeah, what would you do differently? What kind of things would you put in place, you think, to improve the office?
I think improvement wise, try to get some more deputies there, and definitely the mental health aspect. I want to get some training for them as far as mental health training. Another thing, I recently became an alert instructor for the active shooter training.
Okay.
And part of that was integrated training with fire response. Talked to a lot of the guys out here. North Hayes was there with me, and coming up with a plan for that was, like I said, if something happens here, the closest support would be Wimberley, or everyone's coming from San Marcos. So getting something involved with the Wimberley fire and law enforcement up there, the constable's office, Constable Monahue's office, since they're going to be the first ones closest to us to respond, all training together. So, hey, if this happens, we know that what's going to happen. So
have you already come up with that plan?
I've been working on it with fire and future trainings a little bit.
Okay.
Even just discussing it. I mean, even if I don't win Constable, talking with fire about it, like, hey, we need to start doing some cross training with Wimberley and Dripping Springs and these guys. So.
Yeah, because the chaos of a situation like that, if you don't have a plan, that can get out of control like super quick. Yeah.
Did you realize how much politicking?
I just wrote that down, politicking, because just said,
you wrote that.
I did wrote politicking because go ahead. But
no, I was just gonna say, I mean, because I know we keep saying Ron's name, so this is not a podcast about Ron, but Ron kind of removed himself from social media, like he doesn't participate on anything, neighbors page, and you really have to be we talked to Anthony Hippolito about this. There's a whole politician side to running for public office, which we want you to stand on your merits as a law enforcement officer, not necessarily as a politician.
You just said you wanted to get more deputies, and the way you're going to get more deputies is to talk to the commissioners and get them to give you more money so you can hire more deputies. Yeah. That's politicking right there.
That is, and I laugh about this because when I started all this, my wife said, like, "You're not a politician." Like, I know I'm a cop, but
that's what's appealing.
But there is a part of it.
Yeah,
you can't. You're going to have to learn how to do that unless you've got some skill at it already. That's something you're going to have to pick up and play with. It's not something I would ever enjoy, but it's something you're going to have to get used to.
Yeah, I would say getting used to going to all the events and doing all that is definitely taking me out of my comfort zone.
Being
a little
on
bit,
all the time, I guess that's the big thing. And then having your wife Alyssa also, and I mean, in a sense, you kind of have to parade your family around, and people are constantly coming up to you and your wife and your children, and so you're in this public spotlight that you want to do what's best for our county versus also you want to do what's best for your family too. And
we've talked about that too. Like if it ever gets too much, like I know, like, hey, I'm pulling out. My family comes before whatever I want to do here. But we've had that discussion too, and I think as long as I set the expectations ahead of time, she's good with it, and as long as we can communicate that. Yeah. So.
It's kind of a personal question, but I spend a lot of time downtown, usually running in the center of Austin, and the homeless thing down there has gotten out of control, and we don't have an issue with that in Hays County yet, do we?
I would say it's more in San Marcos. We have dealt with some homeless issues actually in Dripping Springs.
Have we?
A little bit. No one really knows about them.
Where do they congregate?
Almost on Mercer Street. There's the little bridge underneath there, the little Greenbelt area.
Really?
We've dealt with some around there. And then there was an outer building, I guess by the old schoolhouse over there. There's like a little building, and we had some issues in there for a little bit.
The asbestos gym?
Yeah. So what's the constable doing about that? What do you guys, if you're called and somebody says, hey, over here underneath the bridge by my house, there's 5 tents or 4 tents and 6 people sleeping there, what do you guys do?
Now there's a new statute you can deal with it. It's a Class C misdemeanor, but
so you write them a ticket?
You can write them a ticket, but I know the last time that they dealt with them, they offered them a ride into Austin.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
To go to actual shelter.
By Steve's car.
That's good. Yeah, right.
But
Steve and I, before you got on here, we were talking about, Steve was talking about the crime downtown, and they released a bunch of parks that have become really unsafe in Austin.
For smash and grabs.
Smash and grabs.
Are you seeing some of that out here?
Belterra.
It's increasing. So there's a group that I've dealt with. They call themselves the Felony Lane Gang. I don't know if you're familiar with this group at all.
I've not heard of that.
They target gyms, hiking trails, schools sometimes. So, like if you're at a daycare and you're going in real quick, drop your kid, leave your purse in your car.
What's the end game for them? Obviously, just to steal stuff, right?
They take your purse if you leave your purse in there. And they're targeting credit cards and IDs, and then they'll go to another city and attempt to make fraudulent checks and it's a huge organization that spans everywhere. But
what I wanted to know is
Wow.
we were talking about this, and I don't even know the answer to this, but Steve and I didn't. If you catch somebody breaking into your car as a citizen, what rights do you have? I mean, I said I wasn't a Biden granddaughter, so I don't have Secret Service following me around everywhere, but I probably do in some level. But honestly, what if I'm out where I live?
Yeah, what can you do and what do you suggest?
Yes, exactly.
Michelle comes out in the parking lot and some guy's got busted her windows, got a person, he's got big wide eyes looking at her. What do you do?
You know he's going to be afraid of me.
Of course he is. Yeah.
definitely, I mean, out here, say something. I would say if you would like more information about this Chapter 9 Penal Code.
And what does that say?
Well, you can.
That's a concealed carry?
You can review it for yourself.
Okay. Chapter 9 Penal Code.
Okay. Okay, expand on that. While I'm looking it up, I will look it up. Okay.
So, yeah, just
That's the definition.
I'm going to read it. A person in lawful possession of land or tangible, movable property is justified in using force against another when and to the degree the actor reasonably...
dot.
Yeah, dot.
Okay.
Yeah, so essentially, this explains what's justified.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my example was I tackle him and hold him down until you guys get there.
My example was I would love to see him tackle somebody and hold him down.
If you think that's reasonable and you're safe
To justify...
But when the police officers come, when law enforcement comes and Steve is tackled somebody and they're on the ground and they're bleeding out of their head or whatever, is Steve now liable in some level because is that considered an assault? I mean, could they?
It's
There's so many gray areas, right?
Yeah.
That's the world you guys live in with the gray areas. That would be hard for me.
It is, but I mean that's what good witnesses are for. Good statements. If you can articulate why you did that, then we can justify it that way. I would say, but that's all those things you got to think about when you're dealing with something
So that
like
guy's
this.
going to
You
say,
show up.
your purse was on fire and I saved it for you.
Steve, you talked like a 5-year-old a little while ago. Remember, you go, stop it. You'd say that.
Don't take it.
No,
Stop it.
stop.
We've had during summertime when it's hot or people leave dogs in their car. We've had people break windows because there's a dog in the car. We have to go deal with that. So
can you do that? Can you break the window?
I'm not going to say that. I would
Come on, Ben. Go out on a limb.
I would prefer you call and ask somebody to
But
come
what if
there,
there's a baby in the car? If I go into HEB and I see a baby in the car, this has happened to me before. I was at Target and I saw a baby in the car, and I was like, "What the beep?" And the doors are all locked, and the baby's in the back seat crying. And so I sent my son up to the top, and I said, "Go to Target and have them say, hey, somebody left their baby in the car. Call APD." This was maybe 10 years ago, and it took them forever to get there. And there was a guy that came up in this big old truck with his jack iron, and he was just going to break that window. And the mom comes running out, and then the police come out. But if you see something like that, that's life and limb, right?
Yeah, someone's life is in danger, especially a baby. You can't.
Yeah, you need to intervene. Yeah. We're talking about just kind of crime in general, but it seems to me, and I don't know if this is an effect of social media, but crime seems to be on the rise across the country. Do you agree with that?
I would say so. I mean, I guess just seeing the trend of it going for my caseload. I have 33 cases active right now that I'm working on. And I mean, I used to average, 15, 20, and now my average is about 30 at one time. So I can see it rising. I would say a lot of financial crimes now you're starting to see.
Is it from theft or just person to person? I'm taking Steve's card and I'm going to Home Goods.
Yeah, credit card
Which
abuse.
Has been done many times before.
And he has called me and said, "I need to know if my card has been stolen. Did you just spend $1,000 at Hobby Lobby?"
And that is actually a true story. That's a true story. But so why do you? I want to know what you said financial stuff, but the other things that you're working on in these 33 cases. But why do you think crime has increased? What's been going on?
I just think. In my opinion, I don't think people are working and are wanting to do jobs and they want to find an easy way out.
Yeah.
And, hey, I can steal this thing and it doesn't hurt anybody because they're going to get paid back by the bank.
Is there a particular age group that you're constantly seeing? Can we blame it on Gen Z, or is it just kind of across the board? Do you think?
I'd say most of them are pretty 20s to 30s. I don't really. I mean, the 40 to 50 age range, I really don't.
We're
see
just
much,
tired.
but-
We're tired. That's what it is. We just don't have the effort. With this time change, who wants to get out after 5:30 at night? For sure. So Christmas time is coming up, and we kind of all just need to protect ourselves and packages and things like that. But even being at your home, not alerting on social media that you're out of town, right?
Which is what you did when you were in Europe for 2 weeks.
Well, I had people staying in my house. Mallet.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right.
I tell people when you're out of town, Steve's out of town.
Steve's out of town. Here's his address.
Steve's out of town.
Yeah. Ben, what kind of stuff keeps you up at night in regards to your job?
I would say the biggest part is going over the cases just in my head, like ones that I filed and then ones that I'm working on.
And so you mentioned you got an average like 30 to 33 cases. What kind of cases are you working on?
I have everything from murders to burglaries.
Really?
So
murders to robberies?
To burglaries.
Burglaries,
or small thefts, package thefts I've worked before. But
package thefts, like people getting stuff stolen from their front?
Yeah, I caught a guy. Luckily, there's lots of cameras out here
The
now.
porch pirates?
Yeah, so I caught him. I sent out a release, and this person recognized him and sent me to Spicewood, and I went all over the place, and then I finally found this guy, and it was pretty fun, like tracking all that down. But
and so you arrested him, and is he serving jail time?
Yeah, he went to jail for stealing an Elf on the Shelf package.
It would have been funnier if it was Snoop on a stoop.
That's pretty funny. What are you in for?
What are you in for?
Elf on a
Elf
shelf.
on a shelf. Oh, that is pretty funny.
But so you've got some murders you're working on.
Yeah.
And you don't know, do you have I know you can't talk about case by case, but do you have leads where you actually think that there's a chance you may find out who it is?
Oh, yeah. The murders I've done, I have suspects for that are already.
Okay.
This is countywide. This isn't just precinct 4 because you're not. This is just countywide.
I'm on call. I guess 1 week every month. I'm on call, or 3 months. 1 week every 3 months. But unfortunately, when I'm on call, usually things happen. So
especially when someone says it sure is quiet around here.
Yeah, that phrase. But so during those, I'll go on the east side of the county, and that's where my murders have been. But those are pretty much solved right now. I can't really talk about them. But.
No.
Yeah.
So the east side of the county, you're talking about like the Nutty Brown Road area?
Or no, so like Kyle, Buda,
okay,
San Marcos.
Yes, okay, yes. So I would, from here, if we would have said southeast, that makes sense. Yeah, there's a little more.
What do you think sets you apart right now from your opponent, aside from being kind of the hometown boy? You know the hometown flair, you know the people. But, I mean, dripping has changed so much, and that's kind of – people have talked about that a lot, that the OG drip people aren't necessarily – like Steve and I have been here 20 years, and now we've become – somehow we're now the OG drip people too, right? So what do you think sets you apart from Dave, which is a great guy. He's in law enforcement as well, but how do you think you can do this job better?
Well, I would say longevity. I'm in this for the long run. My kids are going to school here. If I get this job, I'm going to be here for long term, at least 20 years is what I want to do. Another thing, I guess my military background and that experience that brings, I've led men in combat. I'm good under stressful situations, and I know Dave has too, Dallas PD. But I mean, I don't want to say the military sets people apart, but I do feel like that plays a part into how I do things and what I want to go and do. Like,
well, I think just based on the little bit of time we've spent here with you, I think you do a great job in filling Ron's big shoes. But I got a really important question. It's big and very serious. Did you win your division at the Goat Couture thing a couple weeks ago? That was so fun, wasn't it?
It was.
I walked with Ron's kids or grandkids. I got stuck walking. We had the craziest goat. Did you win? No, Anthony won.
Anthony won. I think I had third place. But
Yeah, it was very serious, wasn't it?
I didn't even place. We were
Well,
very
your
sad.
goat didn't walk. That's
No, I had to pick that
did your
stupid goat.
goat walk?
It was not. I had to pick it up.
That's,
But luckily,
maybe we had the same
luckily it
goat
was a
because
baby
we
goat,
walked
but-
at different times. So
There
maybe
was my favorite one was Mayor Bill Folds. He had a goat, and it was a little bitty goat, and it just put all 4 feet out in front of it, and he had a leash on it, and he just dragged it. So there was these 4 marks going all across the arena where he dragged his little goat.
You know, aside
fun.
from law enforcement, we were reading in your bio that at one point, if you weren't in law enforcement, you would be a professional chef. So what is your go-to meal that you like to make, that your wow meal?
So I make a layered lasagna, but I do it in a springform pan.
Oh.
So when you take it off, you can see all the layers in it. But it has zucchini, carrots, sausage, 4 different types of cheeses. But
we
Did
didn't
you
get
bring that for lunch?
No, we didn't get that. We didn't get that. That stinks.
I'll make it and bring some back.
Okay.
I just noticed on your bio, I didn't actually catch this until Michelle was pointing out the chef thing, but it says you're the only Hays County deputy injured by gunfire since 1873.
Yeah.
Tell us that story.
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually so Black Friday 2017. I was actually working Dripping Springs, but Thanksgiving we all came together. We had dinner in my house, but so we're 12 turns into 4 lanes. There's a little road that goes up there with a cul-de-sac, and usually district deputies will meet there. We used to meet and go talk. So
Eat donuts and stuff.
just hang out and talk to each other during dead hours. But
Eating donuts.
Nothing wrong with that, Ben. Nothing wrong with that.
I'm trying not to eat the donuts when I'm wearing a uniform. But no, we were hanging out up there, and a call came out for a robbery at Jean's Antiques.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So my buddy that I was with, I was like, "Hey, man, I'll go with you. I'm right here." So we go up there, getting some more details about it. The caller said that it was a black male wearing a bandana and had a gun breaking into Jean's Antiques. So we go there, my sergeant at the time and then the other deputies in Wimberley, we all kind of converged at the same time. We looked at it and realized, hey, there's no broken windows here. This is weird. So they did a reverse 911 call, and it was a guy I dealt with a month previously. He had a mental health issue, was wanting to harm himself, so I sat down with him for 3 hours and tried to get him some resources. But it returned to that guy. So when we learned that, I was like, "Hey, I know where his house is, right up the road here on Spoke Hollow. Let's go. Y'all can follow me. We'll see what's going on." So we go up there, and it was funny because when we responded, I was the only one with the rifle strapped on me at the time, which probably led to what happened. But But I remember my sergeant kind of cut my partner off and got in behind him and laughed about it. And then we drove up to the house, and it was weird. The last time I was out there, it was lit up, but it was pitch black, the driveway. And you get those eerie feelings,
Spidey senses.
So I was leading us. I was like, I'm going to stop and we'll walk down the driveway. So I just remember as soon as I put my Tahoe in park, I just started hearing pop, pop. And I was I know what that is. And
I've heard that before.
yeah, so I just remember hopping out. I'm looking, and then all I see is it's so pitch black, just the muzzle flashes coming. He was behind a little rock wall. And then I saw him shooting, so I pulled up and started engaging too. And then next thing I know, I felt something hot smack my leg. And I guess it was, he had a pillowcase full of different rounds, so buckshot, birdshot. I can't remember if there were any slugs in there, but he was just loading them into a shotgun, rapid firing them. So I got hit in the right leg, and then some of them, I guess, hit my, ricocheted off my back of my car and hit me in the vest. But,
did you know, you felt the hot, but did you know that you were shot, or was your adrenaline so far up there?
Oh, no, I knew I was shot, so I didn't know what it was yet. But that's when my previous training kicked in, so I went shot. I was like, I'm hit. And I went down. I put a tourniquet on. Told them, hey, I'm hit. I put a tourniquet on, and then we're sitting there waiting and listening. But I guess during that time, my other partner was able to stop the shooting. So
what happened to him? Was he? eliminated?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, that's wow. But yeah, geez, that's crazy. I'm sure what goes through your head is at first is, okay, now I know I'm shot. And then your second thought is probably, how bad is it, right? Is that your second thought?
No, my second thought at that time was like, hey, is this guy done shooting us, or are we?
okay.
Yeah.
'Cause I feel like that's when my training just kicked in, and I was like, all right, I'm not bleeding. Let's go.
How did that change the way you did your job after you recovered and like? I mean, you got to have changed your way of thinking a little bit, because you kind of have, like, especially being a Marine, right? You have this kind of invincibility cloak around you feeling, right?
Yeah, I'd say I tried to talk more. Like, I feel like the worst part about that was I felt like I didn't get through to this guy, and that's why I ended
spent 3 hours with him.
Yeah, so I think I spend a lot more time now trying to see where someone's head at before I leave. Especially now being a detective, I have the opportunity to sit down with somebody. Like just yesterday, I was 2 hours talking to a guy about his incident and like where his mind was at. So I think that changed definitely. And then, I mean, it obviously changed some things for some other people too, training wise. Just stopping and thinking about something before we move forward with that information.
Well, you also have to understand that it's a people problem. It's a heart problem, right? It's not anything that you did. There was nothing that you did.
Are you, so the comment you just made, are you saying that when you pulled up on that driveway now and it was all dark, whereas last time it was all lit up, you guys would have maybe stopped and considered it a little bit more? What would you have done differently?
Well, maybe, I don't know. I mean, we tried calling and it didn't work, but I mean, just rethinking our tactics, like, hey, well, especially, I mean, essentially it was an ambush. So thinking about that now, like having to think like, hey, this could possibly be an ambush situation. Let's stop, which we did. We met up in group before we went up there.
Yeah.
But just taking more of the time, like, let's consider this based on this scenario. Maybe we should pause. And we have technology now. We have drones now. So that helps a lot.
But you can't predict his motivation, right? You're pulling up on a situation that you don't really understand. And you spending 3 hours with him, there's almost a part where God, in a weird sense, that was kind of a blessing that you got to spend 3 hours with him and you kind of understood where he was coming from instead of just some ambiguous person shooting at you.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't know if that brings you any comfort. Yeah, at least I knew the guy that shot me. Yeah. How did that change for your family?
I mean, my wife didn't want me to go into law enforcement, obviously. I mean, we were dating when I was in the Marine Corps. When I was in Afghanistan, that was super hard for her. So I kind of made the decision, like, I want you. I'm going to get out of the Marine Corps and we're going to get married and do all that. So the thought of me becoming in law enforcement, she really didn't like. So it took some talking and said, this is really what you want. This is what you can do, but we're going to have to talk about this.
Does she have really good spousal support, like outside of just, you, but like with other law enforcement women?
There are other wives or husbands of officers that she gets together with to kind of support each other? Yeah,
she talks to them. I mean, she has 4 really close friends that live by her that she sees all the time. And then our other friend is actually a dispatcher, so she talks to her, and I'm able to talk to her, so that's nice having...
Yeah, it's still scary. Yeah. I mean, you're law enforcement, probably second, third down the line, according to her. You're her husband and father of your children, and I can only imagine that the PTSD that she must have experienced every time after that when you recovered going out and.
She was up in. So we just went up there actually for this Thanksgiving. Her family has a farm in Durango, Texas, near Troy. So she was up there when this happened and gets a phone call from my partner at the time. And he worked on it a little better. I guess he called her and said, Lisp, because he called her twice and they were all sleeping up with all the kids in the room, whatever. And she's like, oh, why is Brian calling me? And ended it. And they called back. She's like, what? And he's like, Ben's been shot.
Oh, like, God. Very subtle. Very subtle. Okay, are you sitting down? No.
She was like, she's like half asleep. She's like, what? And then,
Wow.
And then he's like, oh, he's okay, but he's been shot.
Could have led with that. Ben's okay, but he's been shot.
So, yeah, when he called my parents, he worked on that the second time and said, he's okay, but y'all need to come back. They were.
Wow. We talked about that a little bit in our what we call our monologue before you came in about police officers. The public doesn't understand the point of view that you guys have, like when you're approaching a car or somebody's house in the dark, that's a potentially life-threatening situation for you. And people are so critical sometimes, and they don't look at it from your point of view.
And I've had that. So I was still on nights after, obviously, this happened. And I was out here. I made a traffic stop on a car, and obviously now I'm very... take things very seriously. So I pulled this car over.
Not that you didn't take things very seriously before, but you have a different perspective.
This is your awareness.
Yeah.
So
is it like in football when you get a touchdown? Did you get a little star on your helmet?
I still got a bunch of lead in me.
There you go.
So. Jeez. Well, finish your story. So you pulled over this car in the dark.
Actually, right over here, Mercer at Wells Fargo.
Okay.
It's about midnight. He was kind of driving erratically, speeding a little bit. Come to find out, he just couldn't see very well in the dark. But he's coming from a wedding. I pull him over. He pulls over and then automatically goes from the driver's seat and reaches across in the passenger seat and is digging in the passenger seat. And my deputies made fun of me for it. But so I come to the window. My body cam's pretty funny from this one too, apparently. But I see him reaching, and my gun comes out. I was like, hey, quit reaching. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And he just comes up. He's like, I'm sorry, sir. I was trying to get my driver's license.
Oh, jeez.
It just went from like 100 to 0. That's what they make fun of me for. I have a gun out on him, and then quit reaching. And I go, I'm Corporal Giesleman with the Sheriff's Office. The reason for the stop today is...
Well, there's a lesson there for everybody that's listening. When you get pulled over by anybody, you just put your hands on the wheel, right? And wait for the officer to come up next to you where you can see what you're doing before you start digging around.
I don't know. You're trying to be helpful. You're like, here.
That sounds very helpful. Yeah.
It was. I felt bad for the guy because it was dark and he came from a wedding, so his wallet was in his bag, and he'd never been pulled over before. So,
it happens to all of us.
What is your main vision once the election goes through and if you get elected? What's your main vision for our precinct? The elevator speech.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. What's your elevator speech? What do you wish everybody knew about you going forward?
Well, I guess my top ones are the mental health, school safety, and I don't want to say like expansion, but we do have a problem with traffic around here and expanding that motor unit to cover the areas that aren't being covered.
Okay.
Not just to be ticket happy though, but safety.
Ticket. We have several wrecks, and having that close response to assist with those. I mean, I think there's 3 or 4 motor deputies now that can go deal with that, and having them in areas where they can be closer.
I know where you can write 500 tickets a week if you want. That 4-way stop sign at Bluff and Hayes Street behind Time and Doe. At 4:00 in the afternoon, people go 70 miles an hour. They don't even slow down for that stop sign sometimes. You guys could just be out there with a Xerox machine.
They cut through.
Oh my God, it's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to get TxDOT on the podcast too to discuss all of the new traffic patterns that are kind of coming up, and
that could help with some of the traffic problems, but it's going to cause. We know what's going on at where 71 and 290 are right now. Yeah. I mean, that's probably going to happen here in Dripping for quite a while.
Yeah, especially the roundabouts. People getting used to those. I guess those are in the plans for here. So.
That's the way they do it in Europe, and people here just lose their minds. It's like when it rains.
Slam on their brakes at a yield sign. And then go.
Yeah. I have one last question. What is the biggest thing about running for constable that has surprised you?
I guess just seeing the politics, really.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some YouTube videos about politics you can watch.
Right.
I wasn't, I guess, prepared for that part of it. I mean, in my vision, I see Ron, I see what he does, and that's what I want to do. And I guess I didn't see the rest of it and having to go to all these events and do all these things, but that's important to see everybody and
Shaking
meet everybody.
hands and kissing babies. There's
You
a
know
whole.
what- You know what? I'll tell you. The thing that Ron does is he's politicking, and you can't tell. That's his. I say that's one of his special skills, because you just think he's just a guy out in the community, and he's just there shaking hands and kissing babies, but that's politicking. You know, and he does it in such a subtle way. So maybe you can ask him how he's picked
Well,
up on
he
that.
has 16 years on his belt
I
too.
know,
So
Well, my partner actually told me about that. He said when I was on patrol, I would used to walk Mercer Street at night and then just go check in on everybody.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Man, you're already politicking." Like,
Yeah, that's exactly right.
No, he's like, "No, that's politicking."
That is
So-
exactly politicking, yeah. Well, Ben, this has been really a lot of fun. I've enjoyed getting to know you, and based on just this 45-minute conversation, actually longer than that, 50-minute conversation, I think you do very well in the job. So I wish you the best of luck with it.
Thank you.
No.
I hope
thank you for joining us, and we're sorry that we butchered your name at the beginning.
it's all good.
Yeah.
Vin Diesel.
Happens all the
Yeah.
time.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ben Giesleman.
Well, thank y'all for having me.
Ready to turn your land dreams into reality? Look no further than Capital Farm Credit.
Need a loan for your perfect piece of land? Capital Farm Credit is there for you.
Their dedicated team will tailor a loan to fit your unique needs, because your dreams are their priority.
Capital Farm Credit. Your land, your legacy. Visit capitalfarmcredit.com or Mark Rutledge at 512-892-4425.
Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better.
Capital Farm Credit, an equal credit housing lender. Elevate your living experience with M. Elliott Studio, your trusted partner in interior design, registered and licensed by the state of Texas.
You want your home to reflect your personal style and identity. Investing in a well-crafted design doesn't just beautify your home, it enriches your life.
Team principal and owner, Montana Elliott, understands the profound impact of a thoughtfully designed space. From remodeling to full design, M. Elliott Studio is the first step to unlocking your style.
Turn your aspirations into reality. Tailored to your taste and desires, M. Elliott Studio will work to create an environment that embraces your style with style.
Your space, their expertise.
MElliottStudio.com 512-781-0224.
This show has been brought to you in part by the real estate pros at the Mallet Integrity Team. When you're looking to buy or sell, you need them on your side. Why settle for less when you can have real estate done right? Give them a call at 512-829-2062 or get more info at malletintegrityteam.com.
You know you like us, so go now to Apple Podcast or Spotify and leave us a review. Why don't ya? We love your feedback and comments. Email us at malletandmichelle@gmail.com.
Thanks for putting up with us.